Hello and welcome once again to another episode of A Question of Law. This is Citi TV's legal education program, and here we seek to break down the law as it pertains to our various activities in our daily lives and so on and so forth. And we do like to hear from you. We want to hear from you regarding the conversations that we're having. So kindly use the hashtag A Question of Law on all social media platforms. Our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. Do send us a message. Let us know what you're thinking regarding the different things that we're talking about on the show. When we come back from the break, I'm going to introduce my guest to you and we'll delve into some very interesting conversations. My name is David Sakyi. All right, welcome back. It's time for us to delve into a conversation. Let me just introduce my guest to you today. I've been joined on the set by Selim Adonu, who is a private legal practitioner, as well as Albert Koshiga, also a private legal practitioner, as well as a law lecturer at the UPSA School of Law. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. How have you been?
It's been okay.
Yeah.
We've been on and about. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good, yeah.
I can see life is good.
Oh no, I mean, I can't hide that. I can't even deny it.
Except to say that I was a little worried for you yesterday when I heard your report. I think you're reporting from Kasua somewhere. Was it Wager? Where, you know, some Ghanaians are facing flood issues and all that. Yeah. How was the experience?
No, I like to be, what's the word, embedded.
Okay.
You know, in the action.
In the action is always good.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
So
it was good to hear that.
Yep. Well, today we're going to be talking about something that's rather dear to my heart: copyright, intellectual property law. What does the law say? Who owns what rights? Now, this has been occasioned because of the incident that happened between a musician, Kirani Ayat, and the GTA. And there's been a bit of a back and forth. And we want to break it down and look at, in copyright law, intellectual property law, and who owns what rights, and what is the fallout. What does the law say? How can you protect yourself, in any eventuality? All right, so you've seen what is very obvious to everybody there. But this is what sparked the whole thing off. The president tweeted on this video. He said, "Beneath the deep blue sky, the black star is calling. Follow the stars and let them take you on a journey of our people. I invite everyone to the country at the center of the world. Hashtag Ghana. Hashtag Visit Ghana 2022. Then the subject of interest in this conversation, Kirani Ayat, is a musician. He says, and he's quoting the president's tweet, and he says, "The president of Ghana has used my video Gouda," the title of the song is Gouda, "in this ad to promote Ghana. I was actively reaching out to the Ministry of Tourism in 2018-2019 to use this video to push tourism in the north, and got no reply. Yet today, it's in an ad, and no one has reached out to me for permission." And this is what he's tweeted. So, a bit more context. The Ghana Tourism Authority comes to respond and says, our attention has been drawn to a tweet by Kirani Ayat and a publication by Ghana Web regarding a video produced by the Ghana Tourism Authority, which has been shared on our platforms since 2019 and recently on the social media handles of the president. Now, it goes on to say other things. Then it says here, according to clause 2B of the MOU signed with the agency, this is the agency that produced the video, responsibilities of the agency. This is what's written there. The agency was to deliver imaginative and impactful social strategies, such as content or documentaries for the use of GTA as it so wishes. Agency delivered the content to the authority. The authority used the content in accordance with the terms of the MOU. The above notwithstanding, since the authority became aware of the tweet from Kirani Ayat. We have reached out to the agency to deal with the matter. Okay? So, it goes on to say, this is without prejudice to any legal options available to the authority against the artist and or agency or vice versa. Very interesting position there. I can't wait to hear what the lawyers have to say. Then, the agency in question is an organization called SAMSAL. And SAMSAL came out to say a number of things. Now, I'm going to read, I can't read the entire thing, but it's available so you can see it on your screens, and then you can refer to that as you wish. Attention has been drawn to the ongoing discussion regarding the unauthorized use of creative work by the Ghana Tourism Authority. Our response is as follows. Number one, they agreed that we entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Ghana Tourism Authority for their endorsement and support regarding the rollout and distribution of, and it goes on to say all of these things, a whole lot of different things in that initial MOU. All right. Now, let's go to point 5. In fact, point 4. We put together a video reel that's a mood board. They stated there, which we showed to the GTA as inspiration and creative direction for the videos we intended to produce during the campaign. The mood board was a mashup of scenes from different videos, including the video for Ayat's song Gouda. All right? And other videos shot by David Sakyi, a fellow creative who we have worked with on several campaigns, and it goes on and so on. Then he says, for the avoidance of doubt, point 5, the video which the president and the GTA have put in circulation is not the mood board we created. It contains snippets from the mood board. However, we never authorized the GTA to publish the mood board or any scenes from it. The signed MOU was explicit that our delivery obligations related to any new content which should be financed by the GTA. Unfortunately, the GTA did not finance the creation of any new work as agreed. Using our own funds, we created our own video, which they say is enclosed. And it goes on to say, so you can see a number of things going on here. GTA sought to exonerate itself by calling out their agency that they used. The agency too has come out to explicitly say that, yes, they did sign an MOU based on a mood board that they created for GTA. The GTA has gone to use extra things outside the mood board, and therefore, per the agreement, should have financed it and did not do so. Anyway, my panelists are here, and I'm sure we're going to figure out in a bit what's going on.
Kuku?
Yes.
Hello, what do I do?
Do you feel as if we are going on trial?
Look, I have to. First of all, I want to greet the viewers. They have always been with us, and to say that the facts involved they might appear straightforward, but they are not as straightforward as you see them. But before we go into deal with the details of this case in particular, let me just say that the broad issue for discussion on this program today is about intellectual property.
Yeah.
And as you would see, if you take intellectual property, clearly the intellectual describes the kind of property we are dealing with.
Yes.
That is the property or a creation of somebody's mind.
Intellect, yeah.
Somebody's mind. So because there are other forms of property, but irrespective of the nature of the property, there is a protection regime in place for people's properties. Under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, you have the right to own property, either alone or in conjunction with others. Okay? And there are also safeguards when it comes to how those properties will be dealt with.
Yeah.
In terms of compulsory taking of those properties. If government, for some reason, must take your property,
yes,
irrespective of what property it is, there must be some form of what compensation to you. So this is a broad framework. Even beyond this kind of framework, there is a more broader international framework.
Yes.
And so we are a community of nations, so our conducts are in sync with what is happening around the world.
Yeah.
Now, so if you take intellectual property, as I said, they are properties or creations of your mind. But there are different aspects of intellectual property. So under intellectual property, you have copyright law, okay, which will deal with literary work, like I mean, this kind of situation we are going to be dealing with. So this kind of issue falls clearly under copyright law. And then you have another leg of intellectual property, which is patent law, which deals with technological inventions like Veronica Bucket and things like that. Okay. And then we also have trademarks. So people sell with some brands. Your brand is, once you create it, it is your brand, and it cannot be used anyhow. You have ownership and rights over that. And the other things like trade secrets and things like that. So it's a broad IP. Has a number of legs which it actually moves on. Okay, but our current situation falls within the copyright issue because it's creative work, it's literary work that we are referring to, and that's the Gouda, music, song, Gouda song and things like that. So my initial comments are that it's quite troubling when it comes to creations of people's minds. Okay, they have certain rights over those properties. General principle is that you cannot use people's creations without some form of what? Compensation. Permission. Okay, permission. Or some form of agreement. Okay. Determining the scope of the use. Okay. So somebody creates his work, whether he has registered it or not. Okay. Whether he's registered it or not, the right is in him. And then you want to use it, you must find a way to get to the person. Okay? Because he has copyright in it. And that copyright simply means that he has the right to use that creation his own way, or to permit others to use that property. Okay. So you don't just use it without his permission. And I'm beginning to see already from the totality of what has gone on that the gentleman is concerned about the use of his work, the work of his creative work, his creative efforts, mind and everything, without acknowledgement and without compensation. Look, if the reason why we have that kind of protection for intellectual property is for the world to advance. All the creations you see from the Wright brothers making flying objects and kinds of things, right? And the mobile phones you use and things like that. If we don't protect people who create, the world will not advance. That's right. So it's important that intellectual property issues are taken seriously. And for other countries, I'm sure you know that when it comes to protection of creations of the mind, there are stringent measures in place because developed societies believe that is the only way they can encourage people to create for society to advance. So it's troubling, the scenario we have. But as we go on, we would place the issues where they must be and look at the legal issues that come up as well. Okay. That's my preliminary
very fantastic foundation Albert has laid. So just to add that, like you rightly pointed out, there are aspects of intellectual property, but he mentioned patents, trademark, trade secrets, and copyrights, under which the scenario we have squarely falls. So when it comes to things like patents, rightly put, technological things, inventions generally, a government-granted monopoly to, people to build, sell, use their inventions. And these are very important because it makes people want to do more things, to get creative. Because sometimes before we have a creation or an invention, it's been a lot of work in the works or in the lab. Sometimes a lot of people spend a lot of money to get something invented, but nothing gets invented, so that money goes down the drain, like medicines, for example. So if there is no strict legal regime to protect that work, so for example, when the COVID vaccine discussion was ongoing, the world bodies had to come in to vote some money so that the companies that came up with the vaccines will not feel cheated, so that the combination or the combinations or the chemical combinations, they call it, will be made available to a lot more people so they can reproduce, so that the world will be saved. Otherwise, for example, if Moderna, for example, was the only one that discovered or that produce a vaccine, for a very long time, like 20 years or so, they will be the only body
that had the
to produce
for it.
That medicine or that vaccine, and their capacity may not be enough to produce more to go around as we have it. And even in this situation, we saw the politics around the distribution of vaccines, etc. So it's important that intellectual property is protected. So we have trademarks, words, designs, phrases that are used to identify your goods and services. Very, very important also in the marketplace. Trade secret, like you mentioned. There are some brands, for example, we joke around to say that nobody in the world knows the recipe. That's a trade secret.
I've been wondering how kids are preparing their things like that. It is
the same. So it's a trade secret, and they protect that, and the law allows them to protect that. In terms of musical works, poetry, etc., they come under copyright law, under copyright, which is what we are discussing now. And the law is such that anybody could be an owner of a copyright. Once you produce a work, or you're able to fix a work in a tangible form, you have rights that have accrued to you in respect of owning that copyright, and those rights must be respected. When we talk about fixing the work, we mean the work should be, sufficiently produced in a permanent medium that can be reproduced, that can be communicated, etc. You can't say that it's in your mind or it's an idea. If it's an idea, we cannot copyright it. If it's a process or a procedure or a system, we cannot copyright it. There are things we cannot copyright, and there are things we can copyright. But something like music, poems, sound, etc., that is fixed and tangible. Those things are copyrighted. So the situation we have on hand, the gentleman Ayat, Kirani Ayat, says that he has some music, and it's without a doubt that indeed he has some music, and that the particular music we are talking about belongs to him. It's his intellectual property right. He has copyright over it. And so before anybody uses that, ordinarily, it should be done with permission. He has to allow you to use it. Of course, we'll come to other uses, which may not necessarily require the permission or license from the owner. But in this particular case, the state or the agency that used it should have taken permission from him. Permission could be that you buy the right for a certain period, or he could just allow you, okay, this is promoting the nation, so just use it for free. In fact, it even puts my name out there or whatever. But nobody did that. Of course, we can't actually tell, because the state agency, the GTA, is saying that they contracted an agency, an ad agency, to work on that. And so they were under the impression that the ad agency would have done all those things. The ad agency also comes out and says, wait a minute, that wasn't the agreement. That wasn't what you signed up for. We said you were to sponsor something. You did not sponsor it. So by not sponsoring it, it took this out of your hands. It's interesting that both of them are relying on a certain agreement. And indeed, the GTA goes ahead to say that as part of the agreement they signed, they said they were to use it, or they could use it, as they wished, or as they pleased, just to paraphrase. Which means that they both think that the agreement covers them. We do not have the benefit of that agreement. It would have been interesting to see the MOU and exactly what they signed up to. But in the absence of that, we'll just do a general discussion. So yes.
So we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll just continue further into it, because Kirani actually responded to GTA, which we haven't put out yet. So we'll put that one out. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It's still a question of law, and we are discussing intellectual property. And I just want to read this quickly to you. Kirani Ayat responds to the Ghana Tourism Authority. It's actually a statement that he put out. It says here, in response to the statement issued this morning by the Ghana Tourism Authority, I, Kirani Ayat, would like to categorically state that no agency has any rights whatsoever to my intellectual property. I have not given rights to any agency to use my likeness or work on my behalf. As such, there is no agency agreement, and I find it telling that the name of this supposed agency was not revealed in the statement. This is a statement by the GTA. Likewise, the Ghana Tourism Authority has not been given any right to use my video in any of their promotional materials. As an independent artist and sole owner of the video used in the Visit Ghana ad campaign, I have no agreement with any government or private entity to use my intellectual property. The agency in question needs to be named and signed documents made publicly available that demonstrate clearly when, where, and under whose authority the supposed agreement was signed. And this is issued by Kirani Ayat. Okay. So very, very interesting.
It's interesting.
And it was after this that Samsal then came out.
Okay. And so it appeared. So when I saw the response from, or when I saw the document from the GTA, I was wondering what the agency was, and I also thought to myself maybe they were trying to, for now, protect the name of the agency. And I later saw that the agency itself had come out.
Yes.
Then we are hearing this. The GTA's release said that they were trying to contact the agency, but that was without prejudice to their legal rights, etc., that they may have against the artist or the agency or both or that kind of thing. Yeah. I was wondering because it's clear that the artist himself stands alone.
Yeah.
And it says that whether agency or not, I have not given permission to anybody to use any of my works. And so I wonder where that leaves the GTA. What the GTA can do in that respect is to take on the agency. Take on the agency.
Yeah.
But in taking on the agency, they also have to be able to cross a hurdle in terms of their due diligence, etc.
Yeah.
When you are giving the video, what due diligence do you do on that? And of course, the agency also has a hurdle to cross, because before you use it, did you also check all those boxes? So it would be quite an interesting battle if they had to go to court.
So, a little bit of context from an artist's, creative point of view. Okay. So what happens typically with agencies is that if you notice the term that the Samsal used, mood board. So the mood board is a mishmash of a number of things. So I went for a photo shoot one time, and there was a mood board. The mood board has what the creative agency's idea is to create for you, the contractor.
So it may not be the final product.
It's not the final product. It's examples of things we can do to produce the final product, right? But in this case, the final product is a video. So the mood board will include short clips of videos. We could do something like this, we could do something like this, we can do something like this, right? And that's how the mood board is created. So if it's a photo shoot, that one is just still pictures that create the mood board. You can easily print it. But in this case, it's a video. So then you now take little clips of things and show the client that we could do something that has elements of this, elements of this. So not necessarily those things.
Exactly. So the client could say, okay, I don't like this music. I don't like this scene. Change this.
Change this, change that, whatever.
So it's just for demonstration purposes.
Purely for demonstration purposes. Okay. And then if the client says, you know what, I kind of like this mood board, let's go with it. Then the creative agency is their choice. Whether they're going to use the elements that are there that they use for the mood board, or they're going to use them as a basis to create a similar thing.
Okay.
Do you see the thing? And so now if they say we'll use what is there, then it's their responsibility now to contact the owner of the video to say, this thing that we presented to our client, they kind of like it.
That makes a lot of sense.
And would like to use it.
That really makes
so
a lot of sense, yes.
what are the terms? How much
agency
you know?
cannot go talking to the artist when no deal has been finalized.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yes.
And so the last point the agency makes in their statement is, we have contacted the GTA regarding the damage the ongoing narrative is doing to our brand as creatives.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah. So you see I mean, I think that's a useful background that you have given. But let me, before I even touch on some of those issues, let me also say that when it comes to intellectual property, particularly copyrights, as we deal with, the creator has two main kinds of rights. You have an economic right and you have a moral right. The economic right basically is for you to have some financial benefit from your creativity. It encourages you, it urges you on to do more. And then you have the moral rights. The moral rights, the creator has them for life. It is in perpetuity. It is the idea that anytime that work is used, you are acknowledged or referenced that this work is made by Kweku David. You may be dead and gone, but at least it gives some satisfaction to those who are behind, your family and co, that this was a great man we had in
Granddad did
people are really proud of their families and they like to make references. So these are two key rights that I enjoy. And under no circumstance should a creator be deprived of these rights. Because it can lead to civil suits or even some criminal suits along the way. That should not happen at all. Now, I find this facts very interesting, and I'm saying that, look, it was, what was the name of the guy again?
Kirani Ayat?
Kirani. When I heard it, I thought it was Kenya, something like that, but I'm saying it's a Ghanaian. Kirani. You know, the first time Kirani took his work was to take it to GTA.
Yes.
Kirani has not given his work to anybody else. I don't know, but in respect of the parties involved, he hasn't given his work to an ad agency, Samsal.
No.
So it's possible that Samsal may have found his work somewhere. He used
online.
It for the online.
It's on YouTube.
Excellent.
For
the
mood board.
For the mood board you're talking about. Okay. Now, and so the as far as the gentleman is concerned, the creator is concerned, he had gone to GTA, an agency of the Republic of Ghana, the government. Okay. The next thing he sees is that the president of the Republic of Ghana, the commander-in-chief, has used, something which has traces of his creative work,
which he took to an agency.
Took up to an agency of
the government.
Of the government. And he knows nothing about it. His first reaction is to become alarmed and worried. Okay. Now the GTA is trying to say that they had an MOU with an ad agency. And as you explained eloquently, I mean, the ad agency had done a dummy for you. That's not the final work.
No.
Because as far as they are concerned, the final work is contingent on some payment or financing. So what the president had may have been from the mood board from the GTA.
It's possible.
So clearly, an incomplete work had been used. When in fact the final work had not been completed. Because that way,
it's actually say that.
The ad agency would have said that, oh yes, we did this mood board. We think this part which has your music or shots is liked by the GTA. We want to use it. Let's come to some terms to discuss. That did not happen. The opportunity for that was not provided. Look, let us not drag. As for law, there are many sides to the law. Do you get it? And sometimes it's better to settle these matters than to engage in a prolonged legal battle. It doesn't help anybody. As far as I'm concerned, and from the facts that I have, and at this level, I mean, it would be very strange for GTA or the government to try to put up any legal defense. As far as I'm concerned, they can put it up, but as to whether it will succeed or not, anybody can put up any defense in court. Whether it's a proper legal defense or not, it's a different matter altogether. You get it? Because clearly, somebody's work has been used when it is not final, and then you put it out that way. For me, I think that is a clear, Solomon, I think it's a clear violation.
That's a violation of the gentleman's rights. So, like Albert mentioned, two rights the gentleman has: economic rights and moral rights. And in both instances, or in both rights, he's been violated.
Violated completely.
He's not been mentioned or acknowledged as the owner of the work that was used. Economically, he's not benefited anything. So in all of this, he's lost. And he's lost twice. On the moral front and then on the economic front. You get me? The GTA can say all that they want to say, but the gentleman in question says, I brought the work to you. You did not even give a whimper about it. And I left. Only for me to hear. So, in fact, the discussion about
only
the agency,
the president's handle.
The discussion about the agency is actually secondary. He may not even have known about the agency because he brought the job to you directly. And it's so, I don't know whether it's a coincidence that the same kind of thing he wanted to use that video for, or he wanted the GTA to use that video for, was what the agency also had in mind. You know, perhaps it tells you when you listen. I've not listened to the music in full. Perhaps when you listen to it, it has something that will portray the country in a certain way.
Oh yes,
and maybe
there's a clear northern vibe to the music.
Okay,
very, very clear.
So it wasn't intended to be used for the whole world.
No,
it was intended to promote the north.
Yes.
So, you see,
very, very clear.
So I think a number of things that GTA can do, if they've not done that already, they should call the gentleman, have a sit down with him, and talk. I mean, that's a breach of the rules of intellectual property. They should sit down with him and see what they can do. The heart of it is compensation or damages. What do you want for this? Maybe we thought we were doing this, but we've been let down by maybe the agency, or maybe we did not understand something. It happens every time. What do you want? How can we cut our losses? How can we reduce the damage? He will come up with something. You engage. It's a Ghanaian. If he gets money, it's a Ghanaian who gets money. I mean, you engage and you see what you can do. Tell him you pay him X amount of money. If you don't have the money now, agree on some terms with him. It happens every time. So because I understand this was on the BBC. If this goes to court and it keeps dragging in court, internationally we're going to suffer. This is the video that the president of the country is using to sell the country to the outside world. And being dogged by a whole lot of breaches. I mean, the optics are not good. It doesn't sound well.
No, it doesn't look
good. They should call the gentleman, close this out nicely. It happens every day. Close this out with him nicely. Everybody goes away happy. But lessons must be learned. If
the guy can even go and tweet it on his own handle, and say that we settled everything.
If after that you think that you've been hard done by you've not been treated fairly by the agency, you can take them on. That will be outside of the artist, and that you deal purely on contractual terms. But it appears from what the agency is saying, I don't have the full facts, but they seem to also know what they are saying. That we brought you a mood board. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It was just for you to look at it and tell us if you like it or not. After that, you engage, pay, and then we reproduce a thing like that for you. Perhaps it is after your engagement, and maybe after you made some payment or promise to make some payment, that will go and engage the artist if indeed you still like that music. And so that is where they will open up discussions with the artist or Ayat or whoever, whoever it is, or whoever music, whichever song they want to use. They open discussions with him and see what to do. But given the facts as we have them now, I think the Ghana Tourism Authority should call him and see how they can mitigate the damage. That would be the most.
The interesting thing here, before you come in, maybe you can add it to your submission there. Based on the above, which is all the different things that they've said, okay, it is therefore untrue that our agency authorized the GTA to use Ayat's videos. The mood board was never part of our delivery obligations under the MOU, which all parties knew at all material times was for demonstrative purposes only.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, I don't understand that space very well. But they are saying that it was not part of their obligation. I mean, otherwise,
as a delivery of work.
Well, yes. Okay, so
it's only to show.
Yeah,
as I was describing earlier.
There's industry practice, okay?
Yes.
And so I mean, if it's
I think
part of the
GTA
industry,
misunderstood
something.
Probably.
I mean, if it's part of the industry practice that before you deliver a work, we must see the mood board and things like that. It is industry practice is part of legal issues, okay? So that one I don't really I don't see the point they're really making. But let me make a more serious point. Let me tell you, when you use somebody's work without acknowledging him, it's the most dishonest thing you can do. And in the academic space, it's a serious offense.
Yeah.
To plagiarize, to pick somebody's idea and make it look like yours own
and no
without
reference.
mentioning. It's the most grievous thing you can do.
Wow.
Now, by extension, the same way when you take somebody's work and you use it without acknowledging him, it's pure dishonesty.
Yeah.
Do you understand me?
I do.
And so, for me, and I think Salam and I are agreeable on this matter, and I believe you also agree that this matter should not be dragged.
No,
it's not stretched at all because, I mean, it has implications both locally and internationally. If you call the gentleman, find a way to resolve it, okay, in an amicable way, then we can use the product to promote Ghana. That's what we need at this time.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So the rules, I mean, the Copyright Act deals with matters of compensation, where in addition to any punishment imposed by the court in respect of an offense, and that is that the court may order that the sums of money arising out of the offense be paid to the person entitled under this act to those sums, and B, that the reproduction, duplication, extract, imitation, and other material involving the infringement and the implement or device used in the infringement be forfeited and disposed of as the court may direct, having regard to the circumstances relating to the infringement. So the court, for example, could say discard the use of the videos.
Yes.
Don't use it again.
Pull them down from the
Pull them
Twitter
down.
handles.
Don't use it again. Don't make any references to them anymore. Pay the money and a whole lot of things. Court makes room for settlement of disputes. So where any dispute arises between any parties under this act or in relation to any copyright or claim under this act, the parties involved in the dispute may seek to negotiate a settlement of the dispute. The negotiation under this subsection fails. Where the negotiations fails, a report may be made by either or both parties to the copyright administrator, who shall mediate for a settlement. So both within themselves, they can initiate a settlement. If that fails, then they seek the assistance of the copyright administrator.
All right, fantastic. Well, with that, we'll take a quick break. Up next is the docket. All right, welcome back. It's time for the docket. Now, today on the docket, this one says, my wife died of a terminal illness last year, and my in-laws want custody of my children. My wife was an only child, and since her death, my in-laws won't stop harassing me to bring their grandchildren to live with them permanently. I initially understood their grief and the need to connect with their daughter through the children. So we agreed to have the children over holidays and long vacations. I realized my in-laws were not satisfied with this arrangement when they tried changing the school of my children without my knowledge. When I confronted them, they didn't show any remorse and rather threatened to sue me for custody of my children. I found it laughable and called their bluff. 2 weeks ago, a very good friend of the family intimated to me that my in-laws were actually planning on getting custody of their children on grounds of neglect.
Their grandchildren.
Their grandchildren. I am a software engineer, and the nature of my work makes a 9 to 5 impossible. I have a deep feeling this is the grounds on which they want to sue me. Do you think they have the right to custody? And will the accusation of neglect hold? I want to know how the law can help me.
Okay. So I want to establish, first of all, I My understanding from the facts is that the kids are still with their grandparents. Is that the case? It looks like.
It looks like.
It looks like. Because if that were not the case, I would be asking myself who is currently taking care of the kids when he goes to work from 9 till, let's say, 8, software engineer who doesn't have time and all that. So, I mean, those are not clear from the facts. But having made those assumptions and speculations, I think I would first of all say that when it comes to anything concerning a child, somebody below the age of from 0 to 18 years, the principle is the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
Yeah, the warfare principle. Every time and under every condition. Now, when it comes to issues of custody, anytime there is a battle for custody or access to a child in, for instance, a divorce matter, it's preferable, according to the law, for the child to be given to the mother, unless, of course, there is really other more serious reasons why the mother cannot have the child. So you get a sense from the Children's Act that the fact that you are a mother and father doesn't mean that you can have perpetual custody of a child. It can be taken away from you under law.
Okay.
As long as the welfare of the child is threatened under any circumstance. And so this is just to say that the grandparents remotely have a right to, keep those children.
Okay.
Now, he's worried that because he's not been available, that will be used against him. Because his work is like that. He's usually 9 to 5.
I think what he's saying here is that his work doesn't have regularity. And that's his fear.
That's his fear.
Because of the irregularity of his schedules.
He's usually not going to be available when it comes to the keeping of the children. And in fact, that's the implication, because if you are not, you have an irregular schedule.
It makes planning difficult.
It makes planning difficult. Sometimes you are going to be there, other times you are not going to be there.
Yeah.
And the kids need somebody to be with them all the time, because they can be something. You have to make sure there's always an eye on them. And so, if the situation is that serious, and that his irregular schedule would have implications for the welfare of the children, then there could be a serious problem. But for the grandparents to be able to have that child, they must also show that they are capable of securing the welfare of those children. And so he would also have to say, if the matter were to go to court, for instance, he would have to argue that their grandparents are quite old. They are not as agile as they were before. They cannot take care of the kids when they are with them. They may be prone to injury and things like that. So there may be arguments for the grandparents and against the prospects of they having the children. And then the same thing would apply to the gentleman. But I would imagine that if the gentleman had a system in place where the kids' welfare will be taken care of, I think that in the circumstances, it's more likely that the court may order, that he has custody of the children. Okay, so, I mean, we need to know more about his domestic conditions.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, it can be quite tough.
Yes.
And the law actually prefers that the child grows with the parents, any of the parents. So if the issue of the parent or the availability of the parent becomes an issue, then we can look at the next. So the grandparents have some right, because as we speak, they are those raising the kids. And when you look at the Children's Act, section 43 of that, it said a parent, family member, or any person who is raising a child may apply to a family tribunal for custody of the child. So the grandparents are those family members now raising the children, of course. So if they are able to demonstrate that you've not been available, and the world is changing, the world has become a very wicked place. You can't just leave kids at home and go to work, or you'll be home with the kids. They'll call you from the office because and then you rush out. Who would the kids be with? Like Albert said, if you're able to demonstrate that you have a system in place at home to take care of the kids and also convince the court that the kids are safe, then you are good. In the absence of that, that would be difficult. Like Albert said again, the welfare principle stipulates that when it comes to dealing with children, it is what is in their paramount, it's what is in their interest that becomes paramount. So the court will look at how safe the kids are. And the fact that they are with the grandparents, of course, you may say the grandparents don't have money, etc. The fact that they are with their grandparents doesn't mean that they will not be taken care of. Of course, you'll be enjoined by law to take care of them. So you have to maintain them. And it doesn't mean once they go, that's the end. You will have access to them. I'm not saying that given the facts, the grandparents will automatically succeed when they stage an action for, or they mount an action for custody. But they have some right, or they have some, they can succeed.
They can succeed.
There's some probability of success for them as well, because if they say you are not available and you consider to that, you know, they are not, and they are grandparents, they are old, they are home, they are always around.
Yeah.
I think what he has to do in this circumstance is to use the availability of the grandparents to his advantage. You know, nobody really has to even go take custody. Deal with them, let them know. In fact, sometimes you can bring them home. Yeah. Maybe 2 weeks, the grandparents come to live with you. You know, just so they keep an atmosphere of is it homeliness, you know, at home, because the kids need that. They need you, and they need to be treated well. They need to feel good, and they need to feel like they are home. You will be enjoying to take care of them, their fees and everything. That becomes your responsibility. So I think you should look at it well. But I also don't think it is right for the grandparents
want to change the school.
Yeah. Even if the grandparents,
it seems almost malicious.
If the grandparents even had custody, they could not go on their own and just to change the school. Because who pay the fees?
They have to discuss with the parents.
Yes, both parents must agree. Or the father of the children must agree. Who pays the fees? If you go put a child in a school I cannot afford, will you go to court and say that I've abandoned my responsibility, or I'm shaking my responsibility as a father? That they cannot do.
Or you take them to a school where the standard is lower than where they were before. I mean, no parents will accept that.
The parents must agree. They must come to an agreement.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, let's take a look at our legal trivia today.
Legal trivia. Did you know that a person who gives or agrees or offers to give to a public officer a valuable consideration for the grant to that person or to any other person of a benefit or an advantage, or for the exercise of influence in favor of that person or any other person commits a misdemeanor? This can be found in Section 252 of Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29. Take note and do the needful. That will be all for our legal trivia today.
All right. Thank you once again for watching A Question of Law. I want to say a big thank you to my guest today, Salam Adonu, private legal practitioner, as well as Albert Kwashiga, also a private legal practitioner, and a law lecturer at the UPSA School of Law, which I may in the future decide to enroll. I don't know. Who knows? You know. So it's getting more exciting on the show. So, well, keep watching Citi TV. My name is David Sakyi.